Podcast 17, how to lose 1 pound a week and keep it off. If you're new to the group, welcome. In the last 10 days, we've had nearly 900 RNs join this group. So I don't take that lightly. I want you guys to be able to be getting the information and the help that you need so that you can break through, regardless of whether you work with us one-on-one or not. And that's what this is for you. So we're going to answer this question today. No further ado, let's jump in. So there's going to be two parts. Part one, it's going to be the science of losing 1 pound per week, the what or the results. We're going to answer the question, what do I need to do? Part two is we're going to be focusing on the psychology of losing the weight and keeping it off, the how or the sustainability, answering the question, how can I sustainably do it? So I want you to think of results and sustainability like a scale that you are trying to constantly balance. Just like that. If you go all for results, sustainability falls and you fail. If you go all sustainability, well, that's what you're probably doing now if you're not moving towards your goal. We just don't call it that. We just call it being off the wagon. So you need the balance of results and sustainability that's specific to you for long-term sustainable weight loss. It needs to be relatively even, where results are happening and also sustainability is happening. So let's start here. The science of losing 1 pound per week. The reason that I record these in the group is so that you can always go back and watch them. I recommend taking a note if you feel like it's important to you. So first, let's start with why does the body store fat? Our bodies store fat for the simple reason we're eating more calories than we're using, of course. So think of fat as a stored energy source. 1 pound of fat roughly equals 3,500 calories. So if you want to lose 1 pound of fat per week, you need to be in a caloric deficit of about 3,500 per week or 500 calories per day. Okay, got it. But how do I know what a caloric deficit is for me? Well, first, you have to find out how many calories you burn in a day on average. There are three factors that influence that. Number one, your basal metabolic rate or your BMR. Number two, your activities of daily living or your ADLs, and then specific exercise that you're doing. Now, here's the hack to skip all the math and find this number out right now for yourself. Go to this address. And what I'm going to do for you guys too, just so you don't have to hunt around for it, is I'm going to drop this in the comments really fast. And then from there, I'll show you your next step, which is going to be really simple. Just so you don't have to, which is going to be really simple. Okay, here we go. I'm dropping in the comments here. Hey, Bridget. Okay, so that is now officially in the comments. As we go, and I should mention too, if you guys are watching this on the recording, make sure to say hi, like the video. If you like it, comment. It'll reach more people in the group, which if you feel like this is good and more people should see it, that's great. So the first thing you're going to do when you click on that is you're going to input your stats. So essentially, you're going to input your age, gender, height, weight, activity level. When you do that, it spits out all the good stuff. Bingo, bango, t-shirt, tango. Essentially, how many calories you need to lose 1 pound per week. Now, a lot of people overestimate their activity. So if you really want to make sure that you're going to be losing weight, underestimate your activity. All right. And then just go for the 1 pound. Now, do keep in mind that these calculations, take them with a grain of salt. The best way to see what a true deficit is for you is by testing it. Now let's drop some bombs. I'm going to hit you with some truth bombs today. You might not like it, but it's not my job to get you to like me. It's my job to help you. So this is results truth bomb number one. There is no magic eating pattern for weight loss. What does that mean? It means that traditional 3 meals, 2 snacks a day, intermittent fasting, OMAD, eating 1 meal per day, extended fasting, where you're fasting essentially for 48 hours or more, they all work for fat loss. The difference between them all is just how sustainable they are. But for results, there's little to no difference. So pick one, test and iterate depending on how sustainable it is to you. And we'll talk more about that in the next section. You need a caloric deficit. The greater the deficit, the faster the results. Although, again, you're balancing, right? If you have a huge deficit, it's not very sustainable. You're going to be hungry, you're going to be irritable, and there's more pain, which we'll talk about later. But theoretically, you could eat your maintenance calories for 6 days, not eat on the 7th, and lose weight. And if you're in a deficit, of course, you're going to lose weight. You could eat all your meals and snacks in one sitting, You could spread all your meals out to 7 or 12 meals a day. Meal timing does not affect fat loss in any meaningful way. So, of course, it will affect your sustainability, but don't worry about it when it comes to your fat loss. The reason that I emphasize this is because as RNs, you're working 12-hour shifts sometimes, you're working all day, and then you come home and you're like, oh my God, I feel guilty eating. And all that's doing is creating more negative emotion and more pain when it's totally fine to do that. If anything, there's evidence that suggests that when you eat starchy carbs a few hours before bed, it actually elevates your serotonin levels and helps you sleep. Go to sleep and stay asleep. So that's pretty cool. Results bomb number 2. There are no such thing as weight loss foods. There are foods that make weight loss more sustainable, like high volume, low calorie foods, so you're less hungry. Think like vegetables and fruits. But they do not help you lose more weight faster. You could eat only carbs and eat them all after 8 p.m. And as long as you're in a caloric deficit, you'll still lose weight. You could eat all Twinkies. And as long as you're in a caloric deficit, you will still lose weight. It'll just be extremely hard to sustain because you'll be extremely hungry. You won't be full. And you'll lose a ton of muscle because you won't be eating protein. Don't recommend it. Which is what I say at the next slide. So don't do that. But the reason I tell you this is so you can think through the frames that I think through that allow you to just make this a lot less complicated. So you do want a proper macronutrient distribution so you don't lose muscle as you lose weight, like eat enough protein. You want to keep the muscle you have. And the reason you want to do that is because it will increase your basal metabolic rate or your BMR and allow you to burn more calories through movement. Think of your body like an engine. You want more muscle to be a more powerful engine to move faster. You want to put the gallon of gas in and go 5 miles before you burn it, or 5 miles and you burn it like a Lamborghini, right? Versus the Prius, put a gallon of gas in, you go 40 miles. You don't want your body to be efficient with calorie burning. And the way to do that is with more muscle. And don't worry, you will not get bulky. You will get toned, just like Carla. Carla achieved this physique eating in a caloric deficit sustainably and doing resistance training. She's strong as hell. Take your goal weight, multiply it by 0.75. That's your protein in grams daily. The rest, just fill it in with carbs and fat. As far as like identifying your macros, that's how you do it. You start with your calories, you start with protein, and then you fill in the rest of the calories with carbs and fat. I recommend more carbs than fat so you stay fuller longer, since carbs are going to be more voluminous, keeping you fuller longer than fat. So if your goal weight is 150 pounds, you probably roughly want to start with 120 grams of protein per day. It doesn't have to be exact too. Like a lot of people, if you do want to track your macros, a lot of people try to get like to the gram. It doesn't matter. Just like be 10% above and below if you're just starting out. If you were like getting ready to jump on a competition stage, sure, be exact, but that's not the life we're trying to live, most likely. Results truth bomb number 3. If you are losing more, this is the big one, by the way. Like this is the big one. You might want to sit down for this one. If you are losing more than 1 pound per week and have a caloric deficit of roughly 500 a day or 3,500 a week, you are losing lean body mass. Lean body mass is water, muscle, and bone. All the stuff you want. Muscle is going to mean you have a more toned physique, faster metabolism, resting and while exercising. Water is going to equal energy, mental clarity, increased performance, better ability to problem solve, and a bunch of other stuff I didn't even write down, like the chance that you get injured, have like a muscle strain goes down, a bunch of other good stuff. Bone density, which is weight that you want, more resistant to breaks as you age. So don't get excited if you're losing more than 1 pound per week on average and you're eating a caloric deficit of 500 a day on average. Get concerned and adjust as needed. Because again, if your goal is to lose weight, and we'll talk about this in a second, we get so fixated on that number that we celebrate losing 5 pounds in a week. But like, think about it. For you to lose 5 pounds in a week of fat, you would have to have a caloric deficit of 18,000. I don't know about you, but I pretty much guarantee you're not having caloric deficit of 18,000 in a week. So what else did you lose? Lean body mass. Now it's okay to lose a little bit here and there, and your weight's going to fluctuate. But with that in mind, if you're losing on average 2 pounds 3 pounds a week, 2 pounds a week, even over 4 weeks, slow down. And I say slow down because you are losing lean body mass, and eventually all your results will stagnate. And that's not what we want. And I say all your results, meaning it just gets harder to lose the weight. Continuing on. Plus, the greater the deficit, the greater the chance of you losing muscle as you lose fat. It's not good. It can be reduced by resistance training and by eating protein, but never totally. You're always, like, think of it like this. Your body, when you're in a caloric deficit, your body is looking for energy. So what's it going to take from? It's going to take from your fat stores, and it's going to take from a couple other places first, right? It's going to take from like your liver stores, like your glycogen, your glucose. And it starts with the glucose in your muscles, then it's the glycogen in your liver, and then it goes to muscle and fat stores. Now, to reduce muscle wastage, you want to eat protein and do resistance training. But again, think long-term here. Plus, by focusing on losing only fat and having less of a deficit, you'll make it much more sustainable. Less hunger, and eliminate the need for exercise to burn more calories, which again, we'll talk about later. So you want to change the way you're measuring progress from weight loss to how your clothes fit in the actions you're taking. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So quick pause for questions on the science of weight loss. Drop them in the comments. I know it's like a Thursday at noon. A lot of you guys are working, doing your thing. I didn't even tell anyone I was doing this live. It's okay. But if you are watching this on repeat, go in the comments, ask a question, or just let me know if this is useful. Now, with that being said, there is a lot to be considered in sustainability, and we will not be able to cover it all in this video. But we will cover some main ways to approach sustainability and actions you can start with, followed by actionable ways to make your plan more sustainable. So if this content is helpful, like this video, leave a comment so that 1, more people will see it, and 2, I can make more like it. Part 2, the psychology of losing 1 pound per week, the how. Now, this is what is actually important. You see, we don't need to be told to eat less calories to lose weight. We know that. We just can't stick to it. Results-driven plans are all over the internet. I Googled women weight loss plan, and these are the top 4 non-sponsored results, and they're all pretty good for results. They're all in caloric deficits. They all have high volume foods. It's pretty solid. But if all we needed was the results-driven plan, everyone with an internet connection would have a 6-pack. But obviously, that's not the case. So we need to focus on the how, so this is actually sustainable for the long term. We need a results plus sustainability-driven plan. And this type of plan is harder to make cookie cutter, because what's sustainable for you is often different than what's sustainable for Sharon, for example. So instead of trying to give you a cookie cutter plan that doesn't really work well for you, I want to share my top methodologies that have helped me transform thousands of people's bodies over the last decade. Sustainability secret number 1, you got to minimize pain and maximize pleasure. We're human beings. Human beings will always move towards pleasure. A little typo there, and away from pain. The majority of people start to lose weight and just think, okay, how do I get results? Let's do that. Not even considering the emotional component that is a part of all of us as humans. If your plan to lose weight ever gets to the point that it's more pain than pleasure, you'll stop. Then you're back to square one again. Plus, people usually wait for the perfect time to start a plan. Also not a great idea. They create a plan under perfect conditions when stress is low and things are great. But guess what? If you're not stressed now, stress is coming. Aren't you glad you came to this talk? So positive, but it's just real, right? If your plan doesn't have a buffer between pain and pleasure, when your pain goes up, if it exceeds it, you'll stop. So when you are creating a plan, start with the actions that are the lowest pain, highest result, and then you'll be way more sustainable. And a little bit of a bonus for pain and pleasure. Everyone has a base of stress or pain already existing in their life. Before you look to add more stress with exercise and meal prep and all this stuff, if you identify your stress as over a 7 out of 10, focus on reducing stress first before adding more stress to your plate with exercise and rules, etc. That would be your biggest lever that, like we've talked about in the past, biggest lever, right? The easiest action, best result. And if you're looking for more strategies with how to reduce stress, I already have it in the group. You can check it out. It's podcast 6, talking about solving emotional barriers and dealing with stress. Let's continue. Sustainability secret number 2. Reduce negative feedback loops and create positive feedback loops. Here's an example. A negative feedback loop is weighing yourself daily or weekly. You're doing everything right. You weigh yourself, you haven't lost weight, and bam, you feel bad, i.e. you're punished, pain. Instead, don't weigh yourself. A positive feedback loop is judge yourself, or an example of one might be to judge yourself or your progress based on other factors that you'll be rewarded for, like your actions and how your clothes fit. For example, I have clients a lot of the time increase their water. But guess what happens when you increase your water intake and you're mildly dehydrated? Even though you're in a caloric deficit, you still gain weight week 1. Oh no, this isn't working. No, it is. You're just losing fat mass and gaining lean body mass. Eventually, you can only add so much water to your body. Like you're not, it's not like you're going to become a balloon of water. So eventually, you'll see the scale go down because your lean body mass will cap up and you'll keep losing fat mass. So just make sure that you are essentially creating loops that serve you instead of hurt you. We'll talk more about that too. If you judge yourself based on your actions and not based on your daily or weekly results, don't you think you'd be more motivated to keep going? The answer is yes, because you're being rewarded and not punished. So some quick examples of how we create positive feedback loops with our clients. Number 1, we give them daily praise based on their actions. We rarely lay into results as praise. Why? Because that's what they're used to, and results sometimes go up and down. We want to base praise, behavior that's rewarded is repeated, on what we can control, which is the actions they're taking. And if you're ever thinking about how to create your plan, think about kids, right? As adults, we're just all big kids. Like psychology doesn't change fundamentally. So if you think about, if you're a parent, you've probably heard this before. If you want to change your kids' behavior, reward them differently. Behavior that's rewarded is repeated. If you have a child that, let's say you're not giving a lot of attention to, and they cry and they throw a tantrum and then they get your attention, they are being rewarded for essentially being like having a tantrum. Just like if you're in the grocery store and kid won't shut up, right? And they're crying because they want this thing, and then you give it to them. Well, they're learning that this behavior gets me sweets. So guess what? I'm gonna act like that so I get the sweets. As human beings, we're the same way, right? Any action we do, if we can create a positive feedback loop to it, you'll be a lot more likely to do it, right? Continually. Number 2, we help them reframe their thinking so they can be encouraged instead of discouraged with the result. Example of this is like, let's say it is time to weigh yourself, and you weigh yourself and you're in the first 2 weeks and you've been doing everything really optimally by choice and it feels sustainable, but you've only lost nothing. No weight on the scale has changed. Oh, I failed. I feel terrible. This sucks. But we reframe. Well, how do your clothes fit? Oh, well, I dropped a size. Drop the size. Okay, great. How's your stress level? Well, that's come down from an 8 to a 5. How's your energy level? Well, that's gone up from a 7 to a 9. Okay. So why would we let the scale even interfere with any of this? Because isn't the reason you want to lose weight in the first place all those other benefits? Yes. So let's get rid of the thing that's going to hurt you and let's focus on the thing that's going to serve you. So again, reframing can be really helpful in the beginning as well. Number 3, we praise them within our groups, raising their status within our fit tribe. This goes deep into human behavior, just how we are always looking to elevate our status. It's one of the reasons we want to get in shape is because we feel like it will, of course, there's internal self-actualization, but there's also raising our status, which we won't dive into right now. Number 4 is we help them adapt similar frames so they can have the positive feedback loops without us over time. So eventually the goal is that all the things that we're doing with them, they can do for themselves so that they don't need us in the future, right? What a concept. Number 3, sustainability secret number 3. You need to play an infinite game, not a finite one. A finite game, the purpose is to win. It's externally defined. The winner wins, the title or whatever. You strategize to win the game, and then, time is spent, if you will, which doesn't really apply too much. With the infinite game, the purpose is continuing play. I'm going to say that one more time. The purpose is continuing play. We're going to dive into this, right? You strategize to continue play, not to win. So the people that I've helped break through to sustainable weight loss only do so when they play a different game. Instead of trying to lose 40 pounds as the game, they're just trying to sustain 40 pounds lost as the game. And you might say, well, that's the same thing, but it's not. If the way you win the game is to lose 40 pounds, you'll play more aggressively. You'll sacrifice, and you'll probably rely on willpower to get there, only to be left on the top of the mountain feeling excited at first, followed by burnout, deprivation from perfection, and then spiraling out of control. And this goes into the pain and pleasure as well, right? You're chasing pleasure for a long time. It gives you pleasure to think that the pleasure's coming. The pain's up here too. But eventually, once you get your goal, all the pleasure goes away because it just becomes familiar. And if the pain's really high still, well, you're screwed. And then, we have to cope and we go back to what we were doing before, which is not what we want. So that's assuming that you don't die on the climb, i.e. quit, which is the majority of the time what happens. So if your goal is to sustain 40 pounds lost, even though you haven't lost it yet, you will only do things that are sustainable. You will think in years when you're creating your plan instead of weeks, months, or even days. Like Patty. So Patty gets to eat food like this. It's like a burger and fries from, I don't even know where it's from. I think it's from Five Guys. It looks like Five Guys. I don't know. It might be somewhere else. But burger and fries. Chicken and naan bread, which, is, I guess, pretty optimal. And chocolate ice cream and bananas. Now, yet she's consistently losing weight. The best part is she's not stopping anytime soon because her pleasure is high and her pain is low. Let me just for a second give you two scenarios. Let's use scenario number one, right? And I posted about this a few times in the group already. But like Patty would be person number two, where she's probably going to lose a half pound a week for the next year. Nothing to, get super duper over the moon about, but she'll lose 26 pounds in a year without really causing her stress. And then she'll just keep going until she's at her final goal. And then she'll have to increase her calories. So she'll keep losing weight, which will be a great reward. And then she just maintains, and it doesn't take any willpower. Where person number one says, I want to lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks. And then they do it. And then the event is over. Their pain's really high. They say, I don't want us to keep doing this. And then they just go back to what they were doing. So if you're really looking for sustainable weight loss, that's my recommendation, is not necessarily go slow, but go sustainable. Is this making sense? Please let me know in the comments. Please. Please. If it does, give me an amen. Woo! Give me a hallelujah. I'm coming at you. I'm trying to hopefully get through to you the gospel of the psychology of weight loss. Because I'll tell you what, it's a lot less sexy than me trying to sell you this magic pill that's going to help you lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks. But if there's anything that I've really committed my body of work to, I've been a coach for 15 years. I know the new thing isn't the thing you need. It's this. It's the psychology of weight loss. And with this approach, you'll be less aggressive. You'll think about creating habits in small steps because this will have to be forever. No sane person is going to crank pain up to a 7, 8, 9, or 10 if they knew they'd be doing it for long term, unless you're into that sort of thing. I couldn't help it though. Kidding aside, you will lose the weight anyway because the actions to sustain the weight loss are the same to sustain it. Oh, sorry. The actions to lose the weight are the same to sustain it. There we go. So doesn't it make sense to lose the weight with the same approach to sustain it? Because the other way, as you probably know, doesn't work when you account for years. Now, you may be thinking, I'm ready, this makes sense, but I just don't know how to get going again. You need to break inertia. You probably heard it before. An object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion. It's challenging to break inertia on your own, so use as many tools as you can to help you break inertia. First thing, podcasts. change your input and your thinking, which will change your action and results. It goes in a line. That's why I make these, so that you can have something that you can essentially listen to, right? It's why I created the podcast, which is really just these videos on Spotify and in the Facebook group. And the purpose is really so you can have positive, helpful tips and insights into your body transformation using NET. NET is no extra time while you're driving, doing chores, or walking. And if you didn't know, you can access it on Spotify. And if you want the link, I'm going to put it in the comment section below for you. Number 2, get a friend or group of like-minded people that are all pursuing the same mission. That's in part why we created this group. So you have that. Now, granted, in this group, while we do have 1,900 RNs, a lot of them are kind of in the pre-contemplation stage. They haven't committed, whereas our clients that we're working with are committed and moving towards it. So you definitely want a group of people that are committed moving towards it. And you want to get clear on your goals and your path to get there. Your mind is like a heat-seeking missile. The more you can tell it exactly where to go, the easier it'll be to get there. So if you want more help on creating a clear path specifically, check out this podcast that I have in the group. It's called Goal Setting 101, Create Massive Certainty and Motivation to Your Goals. And then the bonus is just get a coach. You don't have to do it alone. If you were certain this was the last time you would start, I'm sure you'd be more willing to invest in yourself if this was the last time you had to. But I do want to say a coach is not required to make this change happen forever. But it does make it easier, faster, and allow you to have less ups and downs. And if you get the right one, they'll guarantee you lifetime results like us. And you might be thinking that's all great, but how can I make my nutrition more sustainable? I want to give you 3 actionable strategies that you can do to make nutrition more sustainable from day one. Number 1, you're going to include your favorite foods. Increase, don't decrease. No deprivation. You can eat your favorite foods while adhering to the science of weight loss. You just have to balance it properly. If you don't like math or want a simple way to do it, 2 out of 20 meals per week, you're going to eat whatever you want. Don't eat like a competitive eater 2 times a week, though. Don't eat enough calories for 3 days, but eat foods that are less optimal, right? Have your ice cream, have your burger, whatever. And if you do that, you'll still be eating optimal foods 90% of the time. Plus, by focusing on increasing, not decreasing, you won't have the inner rebel fighting you to cheat. You'll move towards peace of mind around food for maybe the first time in your life. Number 2 is choose an eating style that fits your lifestyle. All of these work as you adhere to the science of weight loss. Traditional 3 meals, 2 snacks, intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, extended fasting. Set yourself up for the eating style that's going to be the easiest for you and give yourself permission to adapt based on your life. Throw out the perfection mentality. It doesn't serve you. It only limits you. I tell my clients all the time, the RNs who get to and maintain their goals for years, and the ones who try and fail over and over again, both fall off the wagon equally. Just the RNs that win call it adapting and don't tie emotion and hop right back on the wagon. And the ones that don't feel bad about it and start a guilt cycle. The great news is there's nothing special between the people that do and the people that don't. They've just adopted new beliefs around food and weight loss. Number 3, protein first. If you really want a simple way to approach nutrition, simply focus on getting in your protein first. Protein helps keep you full longer and will help you with not losing muscle while you're in a caloric deficit. Pair that with drinking half your body weight in water per day, and you will naturally cut anywhere from 15 to 30% of your calories you're eating currently. Closing notes, you can absolutely do this. Carla was not special. As cool as it is to see the transformation, she was not special. She's a special individual, but she's not special when it comes to weight loss. She embodied these principles and has lost 120 pounds and sustained this weight loss for 6 years. None of these women were special either. You can do it. I promise you. If this type of content is helpful, like this video, leave a comment below so I know to make more like it. Again, you don't need a coach. Use everything in this group and you will get there eventually. And if there's something in this group that you have questions on or you don't have, let me know and I'll make it. But if you do want to move faster, have less ups and downs, and want lifetime sustainable guarantees for your success, feel free to shoot me a DM, just interested, and we'll see if we can help you with one-on-one coaching. But the thing I want to leave you with is that the best is yet to come. I believe in you. I know you can do it. My coaching journey started by accident when my mom wanted to lose weight. It was too shy to work with a personal trainer, so I helped her lose weight. And we worked together for 3 months. She gained 5 pounds the first 3 months. I had no idea what I was doing, but I became obsessed and I started learning. And after I gained this body of knowledge, she lost 30 pounds in 5 months, and I saw how it affected her behind the scenes. I saw how it affected her relationship with my dad. I saw how it affected her relationship with me and my siblings. She was more patient. She was more friendly. She was like the mom I remember when I was growing up. You can do it. Your kids deserve to have the mother that you can be by getting back to the person that maybe you feel like is lost. My point is, you can get there. I promise you. I promise you. No matter how many times you've tried and failed, you just need a different approach. Okay? I'm your biggest fan. I love you all. I will see you guys in another video. Bye.